Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This segment is on breaking the rules. Yay! For all of us rebellious black sheep disruptors out there, it's time to break the rules or break the habits. And sometimes our family conditioning and what we learned growing up and what we're used to acting like, or how we set the table, or how we go to visit the neighbors. I used to take something for my husband's mother every time we went to visit. And one day she told me, "You don't have to do that." And I just felt so awkward because that's how I grew up. And so you take a gift when you visit a home. And that was a rule in my family of origin. And so I follow rules because, I'm a good girl, right? So this segment is about breaking those rules. Now, you're not going to break them all. Some of them you're going to keep, you're going to evaluate, you're going to contemplate, and you're going to decide that kind of worked for you. But we're going to go over some of the rules and the areas that you need to look at. So get a piece of paper and a pen and sit down in a comfortable spot. Hopefully this will take less than an hour to go through, but give you a lot of homework that you can do on your own, and maybe suggestions so you can better advocate for yourself and come to a place where your life really works for you. My life is very, very, very different than anybody in my family's. My family of origin, the genetic blood family. I don't think any habit, behavior, discipline that I use in my life that they would have in theirs. Because they're very toxic people, very dysfunctional, a lot of alcoholism, drug addiction, pedophilia, and they love to gaslight me, and they're very narcissistic, very bullyish, and not open to my healing lifestyle at all. And so my life, my daily lifestyle is completely different than them because I'm completely different from them. So with that being said, I didn't start to do that on purpose, by the way. But I noticed it over the years that, if you go to a Thanksgiving dinner and the only thing you can eat is the olives or the celery sticks and the carrots that they put on a vegetable platter that nobody eats but me, because I can't have gluten, I can't have dairy, corn I'm highly allergic to, shrimp will kill me in a second, and that's what they eat, that's what they serve. And so instead of making myself feel very attacked or like they were very unsupportive, which they were, but that was an internal thing that I could fix by stepping out of that conditioned matrix, that family of origin matrix. So on the top of the list, food and nutrition are some of the rules you're going to have to break. And I don't care who I'm talking to, whether you have any allergies or you have any autoimmune problems or you're diabetic or whatever. There's going to be something in your nutritional world that you need to reevaluate. And the number one thing I would say is that you choose organic. The number two thing is that you choose alkaline foods. Alkalize your body, alkalize your mind, alkalize, your body's the light bulb that the light within you, the Holy Spirit within you inhabits. And if you're not caring for this physical body and giving it the nutrition, the high frequency nutrition that it requires to function well, to communicate well, to allow you good intuition, good instincts, good rapport with your higher power, the Great Spirit, God, love, whatever it is, then you're going to have an area of lacking, an area where you could definitely stand some improvement. So I start with nutrition. So the third area with nutrition that you want to do is read the labels. Eliminate neurotoxins, things like fluoride, MSGs, sodium lauryl sulfates, formaldehydes. I have a long list in my book on high frequency nutrition that has a list of neurotoxins and chemicals that could be avoided to free up some energy. If you're having food that has MSG, your body requires a lot of energy to stabilize you. What could you do with that energy instead of fighting all the time? Okay, because that's going to manifest in other ways. It's going to lower your vibration. You're not going to be a frequency match for some of the blessings that you want in your life, like a relationship, like better finances, like better health, because your energy is having to stabilize the MSG and your body's reaction to it. I promise you, the Holy Spirit is not interested in MSG because it clouds, it shades over or colors your light bulb, so it can't shine as bright. So with that being said, think about number 1, organic, number 2, alkaline, number 3, reading your labels and eliminating the neurotoxins and chemicals in your food. So preservatives, pesticides, what it's preserved with is really important to your body. Okay. See, nutrition. Then the other thing that you want to look at with nutrition and what you're eating, if you have allergies, like I do to corn and grains, wheat, then I don't want my protein supplies sources to have fed on it. So if I have free range grass-fed cattle, I do not want it contaminated with grains. I just don't. I want wild caught fresh salmon. I want organic raised vegetables and fruit. So be consistent in that. And then don't forget to check your supplements. You may have to do some research online, make a list of what you have, your prescriptions as well. Try to go to the manufacturers' websites and find out what's inside of them. I found out after many, many years of working on it that one of my high blood pressure medicines that I had been taking, I had cut it back and cut it back and cut it back. So I was only taking 1/4 of what was actually prescribed up until my goal was to eliminate it completely after I had had some heart surgery to repair some scar tissue. And I was able to do that. But in the meantime of that journey, I found out that that medicine had cornstarch in it. And I'm a person who gets a lot of sores in my head, blisters, and bleeding situations, highly itchy. If I have corn, my skin is just horrible, horrible. So with that being said, I was noticing that it diminished, that the outbreaks got less and less and less, but I was still just crazed with the itching, and you don't sleep well, especially if it's on your head, and you're rolling, and it was quite a nightmare for me. So with that being said, don't forget to check all the labels on your food in your counter, in your cabinets, and if you need help, contact me. I'm good. I do home calls, home visits with people. I can also Zoom with you to help you go through your cabinets and find out what's not working. It took me a couple years to realize that dextrose was the corn sugar. And so there's little things that you're going to miss. Who knew that soy sauce wasn't made from soy? It's made from wheat. Those are the important kinds of tips and tricks that I have in my bag now after about 15 years of doing this, and personal experience, so which is priceless. I can help you and advocate for you and help you talk to your doctor, your nutritionist, your allergist. So with that being said, give me a call. There's links to prepay for consultations on the asclepiasspa.com website. So after we look at nutrition and those types of things, and remember, you may very well have to take your own food wherever you go. I have several girlfriends, and everywhere we go, everywhere we travel, and sometimes it's so infuriating because we can't do certain cruises unless it's just the vegetable bar, or there's a lot of restaurants that we'd love to go visit and do things, but they really don't have gluten-free and dairy-free or corn-free food. When I moved to New Mexico, getting corn-free was huge, and I had just came out of driving to New Mexico in a dust storm full of corn, post-corn harvest. So I arrived with a corn sinus infection, so to speak, and then I moved to a state that worships the corn. I mean, it's corn tortillas, corn chips, corn meal, corn tamales are wrapped in a corn, so it was huge, and I had to learn to substitute and to change things. And so I have all of those substitutions and things that you can do in this book as well. So with that being said, let's move on. The other thing you're going to need to break, and I said that something about breaking the rules, is also breaking your habits, your addictions. So an addiction I define as anything I absolutely have to do to feel better or to offset my emotions. So if I need to go to the bar to decompress from dealing with toxic family stuff or toxic relationship stuff or problems at work, I got a problem. They say in treatment programs that if you get sick or act out and have nightmare situations come up in your life every time you eat green beans, you got a problem with green beans. So be honest with yourself. What do you have a problem with? Evaluate the obvious: alcohol, drugs, sugar. Huge. Most people in the United States have a problem with sugar. So one of the things that we can do is switch to stevia, which is a plant-based thing that will help you make some transitions and some changes, and you're probably not going to like it. And that not liking it is a good thing. It's very different. When you're used to folding your hands this way, and then all of a sudden you start folding them this way, it feels different. But that's okay. That's part of the change. Okay, that's part of breaking the habit. Now, the other habit that I want you to break is your fluoride water. Evaluate that for yourself. Get a good filtered natural spring water, distilled water. I have to have a sparkling, I do an Italian sparkling purified water because I have some problems sometimes swallowing because of all my allergies. And so the sparkling water kind of gives me a little burp. So it keeps my airways open. And you're going to have to realize that the addictions you are operating with, whether it's an alcohol addiction, it's medicating something. Maybe it's a food addiction because you don't want to feel exposed and vulnerable in a certain environments or relationships. And maybe even with yourself, maybe you just want to feel that comfort food stuff. But the goal is to get underneath that, understand why you're doing it, and be able to jump out of that behavior. When we do it for ourselves, we're the only ones that control the fork. Generally, nobody force feeds us. Okay? So when we take control, that's our power. We can control it. We're empowered to do that. Well, use your power. The more you use your power, the bigger that power gets. The other piece is look at that shame, that guilt, and the fear that are underneath all those things that you are very resistant to feeling. You don't want to feel the shame. You don't want to feel the guilt. You don't want to feel the fear. Okay, I get it. I've been there on numerous occasions, and I'll probably be there tomorrow on something. But just sit down. Some people have a meditation practice. Some people have a yoga practice. I say have a feel the feelings practice. Just sit for 5 minutes. You'd be surprised what 5 minutes can do. You'd just be amazed. One time, many years ago, I took a class in past life regression therapy where we decrystallized a lot of fears and anxiety, and we used the breath technique to kind of blow apart like a baseball hitting a stained glass window, and we shattered those feelings, decrystallized them. And that technique, one, I lost a lot of weight just doing that, not changing anything in my diet, just breathing through the trauma, just breathing through the sadness, the anger, the rage, the guilt, the shame of it all. Breathe through it. It's already over. It's already in the past. Crying it out, breathing it out is not going to kill you. Okay? So give yourself permission to feel the feelings. Don't stuff them. Don't carry them around. Don't act them out in a passive aggressive manner. Don't allow them to put you in a narcissistic relationship situation. Don't allow them to take control of your life. Feel the feelings. That's all. It's just as simple as that. Save yourself thousands and thousands of dollars. Just feel the feelings, okay? So when you do that, those first two things, make your food choices different, make your habits and addictions aware, bring them into the light, shine some love on those addictions. Some addictions teach you where you're vulnerable, where it's not safe for you to be. That's valuable information. Okay. Then what we're going to look at next with breaking rules is we're going to look at your ego, and we're going to look at your shadow and your subconscious mind. They say that ego and shadow sometimes will get out of control. I think a healthy ego and knowing that you need to self-care, brush your teeth, take a shower, get dressed. I put on my lipstick, I always wear my pearls. That's an ego thing. It's a little bit of management. It's my preference. But I'm not egotistical in the manner that is abusive to other people. Yes, I am a little bit sassy, and I think of that as an aspect of my higher self, my genius. It's an aspect of me that works for me. I don't beat people up with it, but I do have a sassy tongue. So the shadow comes when some people call our shadows as our wounded inner child also. So if that helps you to kind of identify what's going on. So in childhood is usually where shadows and wounded child behavior comes from. So it's when we, instead of, because as a child, you don't have the tools to intellectually manage things or emotionally handle things. So we kind of separate those feelings. They're dangling. We'll maybe lock them away in a closet or put them away safe. We adjust our behavior so that we don't let our sadness out, because our sadness makes everybody mad, or they get angry, or um, we're a disruptor and we call a spade and a turnip a turnip. And people don't like that. They don't like the truth in their face because they've got issues. But as a child, we don't know that. So we lock that disruptor part of ourselves, that black sheep part, that part of us that makes waves. We lock that away. We suppress it or repress it, and that creates a shadow. That creates a deeper wounding for your inner child. They feel abandonment, resentment, all those kinds of things. So sitting down and doing your shadow work or your healing the inner child work is a fabulous, fabulous practice. And it's a fabulous habit to break. So not keeping quiet uh, when someone is being quite wrong, um, misinformed about who you are. Those things you can learn to address. You can find your voice. There are things that you know, that you feel, that you believe. Okay? Bring those voices of your throat out, and that will help you to heal. I for doing throat opening work, I mean, you can look at it as a chakra, but also human design has the throat center, and there's different channels that you may naturally have that have been blocked since your childhood, since you repressed and suppressed. And so bringing those things out will make a world of difference in your life, and it'll help you break the rules even better. You can be sassy like me. Um, when I do past life regressions or I do hypnosis work, I'm really taking a person out of the body and mostly into the mind, so that we can read their intuition and their instinctive responses into their subconscious. So what is the subconscious operating on? Because if it's in conflict with what they were conditioned to accept, there's usually going to be some acting out, some passive aggressive behavior, some repressed shadow in there. So with that being said, find out what category your unfelt feelings are coming from. Are they coming from ego? Are you ashamed? Are they coming from your shadow? Were you embarrassed? Are you just afraid? Did you do something wrong? Is it your subconscious need for soothing, comfort, love? So even though they're good things, and then we'll start to write those things out, and alchemize them is the buzzword now. But for me, it's always been healing. So healing and putting love into it is where we want to go. Now then, the fourth place that we're going to look at is a hard one. And it was a hard one for me. I fought it for maybe 40 some years. I grew up as an orphan child. I was raised by my grandparents. And so I didn't have real parents. That's what we called it, or what it was called back then, to my face. And so looking at the family patterns that were quite comfortable to me in my new family, my grandparents' family that took care of me and raised me, was the opposite of what my family, my natural bio mom and dad did, mostly my mother. And in doing that, I recognized that there were certain patterns and conditions. My mother had been raped when she was about 15 at gunpoint. And I guess this was repeatedly. And I asked her, I said, was he in love with you? Did he love you? Did he think you were special? Did he, um, just adore you and just, couldn't wait to have a piece of you or whatever? She said, no, he was an alcoholic. He did it every time he got drunk. So she had a pattern of finding alcoholics. That's what she had been imprinted and conditioned with. And that stayed that way. She raised a few alcoholics, and she's protected pedophiles her entire life. I choose to be a part of that curse getting broken. And when you're talking about curses, I'm really speaking about the epigenetics that's passed on from womb to womb to womb to child to child to child, because those patterns and behaviors, they do imprint on the DNA, and they affect everything we do until we no longer give them the power consciously. And sometimes you have to be very aware of not giving it any power. So breaking those family patterns, whether it's workaholism, any of the addictions, any of the ego stuff, suppressing the shadow, not becoming educated. Some people are first generation college students. I have so many of them in my client database. It's bizarre, and yet that's how it is in America. So you're going to break family patterns financially too. My grandparents that raised me, they lived through the stock market crashes. They lived through the Dust Bowl. They lived through all kinds of stock market and financial ups and downs that devastated everybody. They lived through wars. They lived through famines and droughts. They were farmers. And so with that being said, they learned to adjust, but they did not learn to invest. And when my grandfather died and I inherited some money, we were quite surprised to find as much money as we did all over the ranch, all over the farm, because he didn't put it in the bank. He hid it. He stashed it. He stuffed it in a can, an oil can or a tobacco can or something. He stuffed it. He stashed it away. He thought he hid it, or he put it out there. I don't know if he thought the car was going to break down and there'd be a can up there that had money in it. I don't know what the thinking was. There was no thinking. But that was behavior, and that's what they did back then. And I'm talking early 1900s. So, that's a lot of epigenetics to work through. Now, with that being said, financial patterns are not about the money. They're about your frequency. So think of your and I have a special class that I teach on this. Your frequency is your currency. Okay, so raise your frequency, raise your mind, your energy, your soul, your body, your belief system, your spiritual relationship, your family, love, intimate relationships. Raise those, raise your habits, raise your nutrition. That's where I come in. And, get better habits. Brush your teeth, pick up your clothes, make your bed, wash your dishes. Okay, better habits. Because you become those things. And when you become those things and you practice those things, you raise your frequency. You want to raise your money. You want to have more of it. do those things. Raise your nutrition. Get real. And let me tell you, the caveat with nutrition is you can't cheat, because the only person you're cheating is yourself. Okay. And you have to have the very best to raise your energy. So you have to have organic, alkaline, read the labels, no neurotoxins, um, no allergy foods, do that. And then your frequency comes. So when you get your frequency up there, your currency comes in, because you've now raised your vibration to the level of flow, of attraction that you want. It used to be that money was, paper. It was, I don't have any right here on me, but it was paper. But now money is becoming digital. So it's energy. It's energy. And I remember the old days when I was doing real estate and selling homes and building houses and doing construction projects and rehabbing. I used to dance around the house just saying, money loves me, money loves me, money loves me, money loves me. And it was always interesting. If I didn't do that little dance, I had bad days, because you got to know that energy loves you. And if you want really good loving, raise your standards, get higher integrity. Okay. Those are two very key things for you to think about. Now, I'm going to move on, but basically break almost all those family conditions. Look into and go to human design and run your own chart. Find out what your throat centers are and evaluate, contemplate for yourselves. Richard Rudd, R-U-D-D, has several books out. They're also on Amazon, like mine is. And they can step you with it. That's a couple of years. I think I've been doing it about 4 years. And I still sometimes think I don't know anything. So be gentle with yourself. Just start learning and start making corrections. And it'll come together. It'll come together, because this is about your life and developing who you are and who you want to be. I always think, now, who do I want to be right now, today? And sometimes I can look out there at the world and think of people that I admire the most. In the early days, that was who I did. I looked at fashion icons and I admired them, so I dressed like them. I became and embodied those things. And then I looked at the chefs and the cooks and the people that were preparing the really, really good, tasty food. And then the vintners, the winemakers, and the architects, and some real estate things, and motivational people. And I dabbled in all kinds of things, even the doctors and supplement companies, and integrated all those things into who I admired. And a few years ago, it was somewhere during COVID, I realized that I had become someone that I admired. And I was like, wow, when did that happen? But I think it was that habit that I changed because of the family that I grew up in. They were not who I admired. They were not who I respected. And so I shifted. I moved my awareness and my game plan to becoming, because I have power, I have control, I'm a sovereign being. I have that divine genius and a Holy Spirit that lives with me. I'm invincible. I'm unfuckwithable. So let me guide my ship in the direction I want to guide it. And I empowered myself with those kinds of things and did it. And so I feel very, very blessed that I realize that now. Doesn't mean I don't have my down days and act like a little, you know, sassy pants on a bad attitude. And some days that's not pretty, but it's far cry from where I used to be. So, number 5 is we are going to have to look at that DNA and those epigenetics. And I've already mentioned to you about the uh, pedophilia in my family and that my mother was raped. Well, that got passed down. I suspect her mother had it because she had it, and then I had it. My daughter had it. My granddaughter got it. And I looked at all this path. It's like, oh my God, how can all of us, does the whole world have this in it, going on? And to a degree, it is a problem. Pedophiles and child trafficking is a problem. And we need to all stand up to that and be a part of the change. Part of the change is with us when we no longer allow that kind of behavior. And if you've had the experience of that, then it's familiar behavior. So underline that word familiar. What's familiar to you from your childhood? What's familiar to you from your early experiences? And if they were healthy, that's wonderful. That's a blessing. But if they were not and they caused trauma, then that's what needs repaired. That's probably what you have stuffed as a wounded inner child or your shadow. And those things being suppressed in that epigenetics world or stream of thought, that's what blocks your relationships. That's what blocks your health. That's what blocks your finances. That's what blocks you mentally. Eliminate those. Make it your goal. Make it your dream. Advocate for yourself. Call me. Okay? Because there's ways through it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Trust me on that one. And there's tools and there's attitudes and there's activations and there's mindset work, and you can do it. I believe that every human being can do it, but they're not exposed to the solutions. They're not exposed to something that patterns who and what they are, because we're still in that shame and we're still in the guilt, we're still in the fear. Okay, so having a friend help wake you up and help you turn on your light bulb, that's priceless. That's priceless. Um, so I wish that for all of you. Now, number 6 on this is contemplate and awareness. So we have to become aware of the epigenetic curses, of the bad food habits, of the MSG in our food, of allergies. Awareness is kind of like everything. I'm a big fan of Michael Singer's he's written a book called The Untethered Soul and then several books after that. But The Untethered Soul helped me to wake up. I came into that about 7, 8 years ago, I think, when I was going through a very traumatic experience with a granddaughter. And I was very, very brokenhearted over it. And I just kept doing my meditation and my yoga experience. And I just could feel that there was something else I could do or be that would help the situation. But the way I was participating in the situation was not helpful to me, to her, to anyone else. And it didn't matter how much I loved her. And trust me, grandmas can love a lot. But I had to become aware. I had to see my own neuroses. And when those lights came on, wow, that was huge. It was like everything from the past literally disappeared. And the prayer became, love, use me. Love and God are similar to me. So love, use me in this way. How can I help? How can I be in this way? How can I make this better? How can I uplift this? How can I shine light on this? How can I love through this? Okay. So seeing ourselves as neurotic, as addicted, as caught up in our bad habits, toxic families, toxic food, because that's all we knew, fast food, right? Little Debbie's. Oh, kill me now. Anyway, awareness is huge. So I do teach mindfulness training and meditation, but I also have started counseling, not just started, but continued to help people gain that awareness. A couple of people that I would steer you toward in the outside world would be Muji, Mooji. He's in Spain, Portugal, very deep in his pointings to helping you identify your I am, your I'm talking, I'm aware I'm talking. And then that part of me that's aware I'm talking is aware that I'm watching myself talk. And then there's another part, the I am. Okay. And that's the absolute. It doesn't change. And getting to know that piece of who you are is, I don't know how to quantify that. It's tremendous. It's tremendous. The other person I've spoken of is Michael Singer and his work. He's on YouTube, as is Muji. And just tuning in and sitting in stillness with a cup of tea and listening and practicing and following along is of tremendous value to your own personal self-help and development. Um, Learning how to do your own shadow work and how to alchemize. I journal. That's one thing that's worked for me since I was in junior high. I was I always said that I kept a journal every year and a day planner, which usually became my journal. And I did that since I was in junior high. Well, I've always thought that when I'm older, if I keep a journal now, when I'm older, my journal will keep me. And so I've been going back through some of those journals. And one, I'm kind of embarrassed that I fell in love so many times with the wrong person. But, now that I have the awareness and the experience and the understanding of why we do what we do, I'm surprised it wasn't more, you know? So, with that being said, um, become aware of your real self. That's tremendous. Break that habit. Because if you look in the world right now, so few people set their life on that course. Well, I did many years ago. I decided that getting to know me and investing in me and becoming the real me, the God, divine, love, juicy, ripe tomato me, that was worth it. That was worth the ride. So that's what I do every day, almost every minute of it. So, number 7, there's a bad habit that is called, I think the buzzword is called spiritual bypassing. And catching yourself doing a spiritual bypass is really, really important. It's like, oh, well, God put us here for a reason. Oh, God allowed that person to die for a reason. That baby was born for a reason. God wanted to bless the world with that baby. And we blame everything on God or everything on the church or everything on our Christian parents or our religious upbringing. And it's all about God. But you know what? It's not. That God is in you. You can't bypass that. You can't excuse it. You can't blame it. You can't dismiss it. You're dismissing yourself if you do. So owning it, taking full responsibility for what's going on. Yes, go ahead with your contemplations, but you'll probably never find answers. Letting it go, surrendering it. Huge, 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 huge. This is a book called The Path of Surrender by David Hawkins. And he talks about our frequency, our vibrations way down there in the low range, guilt, shame, fear, and then going on up to joy and bliss and abundance and raising our frequency. So getting up there in that 700-800 and, becoming the untethered soul that Michael Singer talks about and speaks about, dropping the weight. It's like he uses the metaphor of the balloon going up. And now that I live in New Mexico, we have all these hot air balloons. And when you drop or untie those tethers, the balloon can float. It can be its glorious, most artistic, beautiful thing. And you get to witness it or you get to ride in it. And it's just a high of euphoria. But if you're still tethered with your guilt and your shame and your toxic food and your MSG and your family of origin and your epigenetics, and you have so many addictions, you can't even get out to the field where the balloons are going off. You're doing it to yourself. You're missing your own life. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I did for a few years. I did it myself. I knew what it's like. And if you want help, you want an ear, you want someone who understands, call me, email me, touch base. After we stop with the spiritual bypassing and the cognitive dissidence, where we just separate, we give so many excuses. In my family, the pedophile happened to be somebody who had autism. One of the pedophiles, there's several, had autism. And I actually had a brother say, well, why do you want to attack the retarded kid? And I just was like, oh my God. One, his language. And number two, behavior doesn't get a free pass with me. Don't show me how toxic you are in front of me and expect a free pass, because I will call you on it. I will call it out. And you're not going to be back in my world. Because I care enough about myself to believe what you show me, and I don't need to be fooled. I don't need to be manipulated. I don't need to be lied to. I don't need to enable your behavior. I have none of that in me. So, you've been warned. As my cup says, beware. Told you, sassy. Sassy, sassy, sassy. All right. Well, let's talk about two more things here. Number 8 is how you break those rules, those habits, is number 1, you raise your standards. You raise your standards. Look around and say, you found somebody you respect or you admire. What do they do? How high are their standards? Do they have integrity with themselves? When you come into my home, you will find no wheat, no flour, no corn products, no dairy products, dust. I'm mean on dust. All of the allergic things, they've been removed from my world. All of the things that I teach you, that I lay open my life, I've been a martyr for so long that now I can teach what not to do and share that with you. And that seems to be my, in human design, my 3-6 dynamic that I get to do. It's martyr and then role model. So I can model for you what not to do because I did it. And I found my way through that. And not all of it was pleasant. Some of it was fun. Some of it had its moments. You know, I did a lot of traveling and blah, 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 but nothing you want to land on very long. Okay. So raising my integrity. And remember, I'm a Kansas girl. See, this is all Kansas. I brought Kansas with me. You know, the beautiful sunsets and our sunflowers. So, you know, some of my friends call me sunshine because I love being happy. I just love being happy. I love being full of joy and blissful. And, you know, it's part of my DNA. It's the part that I'm keeping. Okay, so on your way to having high integrity, you're going to be sacrificing. You're going to be working harder on you. Okay, not on somebody else. You're not giving yourself away for free. You're investing in you. When you invest in you, you'll pay dividends. You'll get the pay. You'll get the payoff. Okay, there's a huge payoff in investing in yourself. All right, so mostly what you're sacrificing, though, is old toxic habits and belief systems. So you're upgrading, you're working on your mindset. All right, so that's number 8. Number 9, and we already have touched on this, but I want to really focus on it, is you're going to have to raise your standards. You're not going to play small anymore. And maybe you're still going to be a housewife. Maybe you're still going to be a mother or a father and raise children. Maybe you're still going to go to work from 9 to 5. Maybe you're still going to drive a Chevy, you know. But in your mind, people know they can't lie to you. In your heart, they know you're a friend. You're going to raise your standards. I have a neighbor across the street who's first generational police. And he says that with such pride because, you know, in New Mexico, high crime. And he broke out of that. He raised his standards. He did it with integrity. He's working on changing his diet now that he's met me. He's got the most beautiful little boy and gorgeous wife. They're just as sweet as can be. And I can help bless their lives to be even better because he's done the work. He's done the work. He's made the decision to break the curse, to raise his standard, to shine with integrity. Okay. Now, there's a whole lot of areas in the world, especially in America, that if you have skill sets to play on that field in politics, in the financial arena, in the real estate arena, in the save the planet arena, like I do with my solar work. I really believe in solar because of helping the planet. We're not going to have all these fossil fuels. They're going to run out. Plus the cost is just off the grid. And it makes the homeowner a slave to the electric company. That's a monopoly. That's a divorce that needs to happen. Got the sass there? So I help break up marriages with electric companies. Those things need to happen and help them get solar systems. We evaluate their roofs and their goals and see if solar works for them. And we get them tied into solar. Sometimes people can afford to put larger systems in their properties because they have the roof square footage, the surface, and also because they have the financial means to do that. One, it's going to give them some tax breaks. 2, it's going to give them a cut in their electric bill. And 3, it's going to help improve their health. Okay. And it doesn't just help them, it helps everybody to do that. We've got some wonderful legislation that's happened to give us some tax breaks right now. Those are going to go away in the future, I dare say. And with all that being said, if you need some help in cleaning up your environment and getting your home in shape, let me know. I've got lots of things and resources to help you with that, as well as your health and your skincare. Stay tuned for my video on the best sellers of Eminence Organics, the #1 skincare line in the world. Professional grade. I used to own a skincare company, and I know how hard it is, 1, to source products, and 2, to make them, package them, label them, and get them shipped and put in the hands of the right people. And I think Eminence is doing one of the most exceptional jobs. So we partnered with them. The spa partnered with them to do that. And for me, when I have allergies, everything comes out my skin. So some days, if the water in the shower is too acidic, and you know, if you're on city water, how it can change from day to day, it doesn't work for me. So what I've had to do is I use products like Eminence to clean, to exfoliate, to moisturize, to protect my skin, because it has been my nemesis since childhood. And so when I'm taking care of my skin and I'm looking good, can you tell I'm almost 70 years old? No, of course not, except in my life experience stories, and you can tell. But it's because I use the best of the best of the best. Okay, so if you have needs for skincare advice or products, let me know. I've got about $30,000 worth of inventory around here. Help you out. And if you're in the Albuquerque area, get a hold of me. I can set you up with some appointments. And everything we do is natural. Everything we do is organic. Everything we do has to do with a naturopathic way of living. Fresh air, fresh, beautiful sunshine, clean water, no neurotoxins, no GMOs. So, you know, everything to sustain your environment, to sustain your health, to help bring out your own internal radiance. It's a full-time job, folks. You can't just take a little bitty workshop in enlightenment and be all that in a bag of chips tomorrow. Sorry, it's a process. And if I can join you and support you in that process, I'm blessed. You have fulfilled my mission on earth. Thank you. And I love you all. God bless you. Happy Hanukkah starts tomorrow. And I look forward to meeting you all. Bye-bye.